welcome back to Smashing Hits Podcast. This is the recap for All Stars 3, Episode 8. And we are once again late. But we'll be back on track this coming week. So my name is Zach, and I'm joined by my wife, Hannah.
Hey, hey, hey.
Best friend, Jake.
How's everybody doing tonight?
The reason we're late is Hannah just got back in town today.
This afternoon.
Yeah, and so we didn't want to record again without her, and where she was going, she wasn't going to have access to be able to watch it. So
we couldn't read your notes. We couldn't do Hannah's
that's
notes.
the thing. We wouldn't
I
have
had
notes.
next to no service. Like, I couldn't hardly get anything to load, so...
Yeah, she was trapped in quicksand.
Yep.
Well, we are next to nothing without you.
Yeah.
That's good to know.
So yeah, she's been gone again. It's Monday. This will go up late tonight, and then the next episode will come out Wednesday. Didn't know it was going to be a cliffhanger beforehand.
But at least we don't have to wait a long time.
That's true, because we already waited on the front end.
Yeah.
Now all of our listeners are going to have a short wait too.
Right.
We did this for you.
Yeah, exclusively.
You're welcome.
So we, I don't even know if you guys know this. We had someone message us on Facebook, and I don't remember your name right now. I'm sorry.
You're bad remembering names.
I am. I'm really bad with names. But she reached out and she was like, "Hey, your sponsors on your fantasy points."
Mm-hmm.
She's like, "Are you guys really sponsored by Mucinex?" She's like, "Cause I'm a pharmacist," and she's like, "That's not what Mucinex does." She's like, "I just want to make sure that you guys aren't like misrepresenting like what your sponsor is." And I was like, "Well, one." I was like, thank you for that. I was like, two, I was like, honestly, the sponsor thing started kind of as a joke, and we just, because she's like, I knew you guys brought up Super Soaker too, and she's like, that seems like a weird one.
We used to be, one of our first sponsors was Chick-fil-A, Have It Your Way.
Well, we did didn't we do like P3 at one point?
Oh, yeah, the protein
I think that
pack.
may have been the first one.
Yeah.
And I was like, honestly, don't remember what started it, but it was just a joke because we had this new segment and we're like, we need a sponsor for it. And so we just picked stuff that would never sponsor us.
We picked like big names and then used other big name slogans. So what was it? Was it Chick-fil-A Eat Fresh and then McDonald's Have It Your Way?
I don't. Did we have McDonald's as a sponsor? I don't think we had McDonald's as a sponsor.
We had McDonald's ads.
We have.
True, we have had ads. But yeah,
It's just been like miscellaneous stuff like that.
it's just been a joke. Like there's not been any real.
Well, not to me. I put in.
Well, apparently, Got That Nose Running is not, because I thought Mucinex did stop.
If Mucinex don't stop the nose from running, we need to change the sponsor.
Yeah. I haven't heard back, I don't think, from.
If Mucinex does not stop a runny nose, we need to stop using Mucinex altogether. Mucinex is not doing its job.
I thought that's what it did. It was that
it's for it's like a cough syrup.
They
also make cough drops.
Yeah, it's just expanded into a bunch of different stuff. Now Mucinex has like a bunch, like they have like daytime cold and like they've kind of expanded. It's just a name brand now.
Which daytime cold medicine does help with a runny nose.
True, but maybe Mucinex in its like purest form.
Look it up.
I don't see anything.
Okay, you didn't type in anything.
What does Mucinex do? Reduces chest congestion.
Okay.
By thinning and loosening mucus in the airways, clearing congestion, and making breathing easier.
Well, then call it Congestion X.
Okay. Let's see if that's a thing. Congestion X. No, let's search for Congestion X. Tucol, adult cough syrup and Congestion X strength.
Sounds like we have a potential new business venture.
Okay, well.
Maybe that's not trademarked. Congestion X.
So we could start our own medicine called Congestion X, and we could have it specifically for runny noses.
Does anybody know how to engineer that?
Just got to get in a lab.
Yeah.
And then what?
You
put it in one of them vials that spins real fast.
There's vials.
Centrifuge.
There's always different vials of different sizes and colors. When you go into a lab, they're just there, and so we'll just mix them together until we get what we're looking for. Like we'll mix them together, and it'll say runny nose medicine.
Did you guys all take chemistry?
Yes.
Hated it.
Okay.
I loved chemistry.
I liked it. I didn't enjoy the equation side of it and all that type of stuff, like breaking it all down. I liked the like hands-on stuff.
I liked mixing stuff together and like making it smoke.
Yeah, I honestly don't remember doing a ton of that. We did have to dissect a frog at one point.
I never had to digest or dissect anything.
Digested.
Chemistry.
Dissected.
Yeah.
Cow's eye.
Oh no, we didn't do
And a
that.
baby pig.
Oh, Lord, no, we didn't. We had just a frog, like the standard, and it smelled like
I
formaldehyde.
didn't
Somebody
do
got
that.
formaldehyde in their eyes doing that.
That's not good.
I didn't do that in chemistry. I did that
I don't know if
in
it's chemistry. It was in high school.
biology.
Yeah, it was probably biology.
I did that in college, which I didn't want to do it, so I actually talked my...
So you're the Naya of biology.
No, I didn't want to do it, so I had my lab partner dissect it for me. I didn't even watch.
Didn't
matter.
They also had us dissect puppies that had been euthanized.
No,
Oh,
there's
okay.
No way you did that.
Cool.
Did you really?
Did you castrate them?
No.
I was like, there's no way they gave you euthanized puppies.
No. I wouldn't do that anyway.
No,
We would,
like there would be so many people that would like opt out of that class.
no. You can't do that to little puppy dogs.
No, that's why. Like I don't.
Maybe a little Yorkie, but not a puppy dog.
I was talking to actually Hannah's dad about this, and he wasn't as receptive to this story as what I thought it was, because Hannah's sister wants to be a vet of some sort. She's going for marine biology right now, but eventually wants to be a vet. And I was talking about our friend Andrew, who's been on our Patreon podcast. That lives away, and his wife is a nurse now with humans, but she used to work with animals, and I told your dad the story, and he didn't really laugh, or he's like, oh, okay. And one time we were at church years ago, probably like 12 years ago, 10 years ago, something like that. And he came up to me and was like, hey, did you know a dog's vagina can fall out?
You told my dad that?
Yeah. Because, what happens is it can just like prolapse and just like turn inside out, and it's basically like a big Nerf football just hanging out.
Oh, God.
Yeah, and the way that they fixed it is they just coat it in sugar and then like let it shrink back up and push it back in. And Andrew showed me pictures of it immediately. And then I believe we then showed my dad, if I remember correctly.
Did your dad laugh or say, huh, okay?
I mean, it was like 12 years ago. I don't remember, but I do remember your dad was just like, okay.
He probably thinks you're a freaking weirdo.
You think there's pictures on Google?
Absolutely.
No,
pull that
I
up.
don't want to look it up.
He was searching for congestion X.
But I don't want my little eyeballs to see that. They're too pure.
I don't think the actual picture that he showed me, because it was one his wife took.
I know, but I don't want to see any
close
of it.
your eyes.
Oh, Han, you gotta take a look at this.
I'm not
It
looking.
didn't even show anything yet.
I'm not looking.
It
Tell me
was
when I can open my eyes
more
again.
like
God.
it was worse than these.
You know what that looks like is the monkeys. Their butts.
Yeah,
is that what
but
that is?
it was more like this, honestly.
God.
Yeah, and apparently you just coat it in sugar and it shrivels up and you wham it back in.
Han, look at this.
No thanks.
It's pretty rough. I couldn't do it. I don't think I could be a vet or anything like that. I definitely couldn't be a human doctor or nurse,
You couldn't be a human vet?
because like I don't like surgeries and stuff like that. I just don't enjoy. Have you ever watched a rhinoplasty, Jake?
A rhinoplasty?
Nose jobs.
Where they shave your nose down.
Yeah, I can't.
They put that chisel in there and they're, oh god,
They
it's
hammer away.
It's violent. It's rough to watch.
It's like they're sculpting rock.
Your brother and I used to both watch Nip Tuck a lot, the show on FX.
Well, I used to watch I Want a Famous Face.
Okay, I haven't watched that, but Nip Tuck,
You know what I'm talking about, right?
not really.
That's the MTV show, the old MTV show where they'd want to get made over to look like celebrities, their favorite celebrity.
I don't remember that.
Oh, wow.
What a weird show. I never saw that either.
Anyway, Nip Tuck, great drama. Hated the surgeries. Hated them so much. Speaking of I Want a Famous Face, there used to be a show back in the early 2000s called like something about like the Ugly Duckling or something Swan or whatever, and it was just people who all thought they were ugly, and if you won the show, you got crazy plastic surgery, and that was the winner. It was a reality competition to get the most surgery. It would never fly today.
So all the contestants were like the most ugly people?
I don't
winner,
even think they honestly were probably that ugly. They just like probably body dysmorphia and like themselves. They were like, oh, I'm hideous.
Yeah, it debuted in 2004.
Your show or my show?
2000, my show.
Okay.
2004. It was on MTV. It ran for 4 seasons.
Let me see what you're looking at. Does it have like a title card or anything?
Well, it's an MTV show.
I remember this guy.
Yep, I remember him.
Okay.
I think he wanted to look like Brad Pitt.
I remember that guy. Weird. I don't remember this show from what
It had 4 seasons.
man, like there were a lot of weird surgery shows back then that I don't think you could make these days.
Yeah. It's
Yeah, when you Google "I want a famous face," the first one that pops up is Brad Pitt.
Yeah, I remember that guy. I didn't remember that show though at all. Maybe I'll have to see if we can find. Is that on Paramount Plus?
Oh, maybe.
It might be, honestly, or they may have tried to scrub it and get rid of it.
Well, some things you can't get rid of.
Yeah, that's true. Not AIDS though. AIDS you can get rid of now.
Is that true?
I mean, well, you know, I might have said that speaking out of turn a little bit. I don't honestly know. I mean, Magic Johnson's still good.
Okay.
And I know that they've done clinical trials with people that they have supposedly been able to cure them.
Oh, that's big.
Yeah,
that's big time.
it is big time. So what was the question? We don't know. So you guys got anything you want to talk about before we get into the episode 8 All Stars?
I'm supposedly a terrible landlord, but
That's true.
Yeah.
That's true.
Still sponsored by Mucinex?
yeah,
Later, only the fantasy part.
Okay.
Yeah, we'll
Okay.
hold on.
They don't-
Mucinex does not sponsor the episode.
Yeah, they don't sponsor this main part of the show.
They don't care anything about the challenge.
I do want to shout out. I believe her name's Emily. She left us a 5-star review on iTunes,
Okay, good.
and she gave me 100 fantasy points for being engaged. So.
Oh. What are the odds it's...
No, we can't get into that. That would be really funny.
That would be funny. I wouldn't be mad about it.
So yeah, we can't get into that on air, but yeah, let's just skip past all that and let's get into episode 8 of All Stars. I guess 2 episodes left. Is that right? 10 episodes total.
Season 1 and 2 were both 10 episodes total.
Season 1 was like 8 or 9.
I swear, when you scrolled over earlier, they both said 10 episodes.
Are you sure?
I'm almost
Jake, look that up.
positive.
I thought the first one was 8 because they were like, we don't really know how this is going to go, so we're going to make it a little shorter. I could be wrong on that. I did tell your brother, Jake, because he's trying to watch back through older seasons.
Little brother, not the one that went missing.
Yeah.
That you watched Nip Tuck with.
Yeah, not that one. He hasn't watched any of the All-Star stuff, and I was like, they're great. I was like, you need to watch those.
Season 1 is 9 episodes.
Yeah, I thought it was a weird number. Anyway, although your brother wouldn't have any like backstory with any of these people because he's only been watching since like
2 years.
Yeah, like the last 2 or 3 years. So I guess he would know like Wes and maybe Kayla and some of them like that.
Yeah.
But I wrote Mark and Derek's medical season. Definitely meant miracle season.
Okay.
Because that's how they started this episode off. Because they were talking about how great of a season they're having.
Mark's a 4-star general.
I mean, I think Derek asked him if he's going to play until he's 60. And he's like, I might.
I mean, how old is he now?
He's like 51.
Yeah.
He's definitely in his 50s.
Yeah.
He's got a couple years left.
Yeah, 60 just seems unreachable. Like, again, like, look at what the elimination we left off with tonight.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, if you're 60, like, I don't care how built you are, like, it's gonna wreck your body.
I mean, you
it's
never
like
know.
it's like when you have little kids, they can like fall out of a window, like, and they'll like jump right up and be like, everything's great, and then like if you get off the couch wrong, like your back's tweaked for like 3 days.
Oh yeah.
But if Mark's in his early 50s now, I mean, look at how well he's kicking.
I was picking up a pair of shoes out of the floor one time, twisted just the slightest wrong way and done. Fell to the floor.
That happened to me. I was not too long ago, probably about 6 months ago. I had some stuff in my hands. I was walking upstairs, and like a little like wrapper from something I had eaten like fell, and it like fell on the stairs. And I bent over like a little crooked to pick it up. Something in the back locked, like the nerve or whatever locked up. You're like, incapacitated. It sucks so much.
It's bad.
Back pain and the injuries are awful because you never know when they're going to strike again.
Well, that's why you bought an inversion table.
I did. Honestly, that's what I bought it after that because I was like, this is awful. We get Nia talking with Nehemiah, and basically she's just like, I gotta have Jordyn to motivate me. I don't really have my head in the game here.
It's a terrible way to live.
Yeah. She said she doesn't have enough confidence to compete anymore without him there.
So wild. Yeah. When you think back to Nia.
And she was a force.
How many years ago?
Speaking to old Nia, her quote, "I can't believe I love him. I used to pray that he would die."
Yeah. I wrote that down too. I mean, that's a big turnaround.
Yeah. I mean, she's not even close to the same person she used to be.
And probably in real life is way better.
Yeah, it's good that she's not praying that people die.
Mm-hmm. Well, she didn't say that.
Well, yeah, I don't know
specifically. She's not praying for Jordyn to die.
But I did mention to you, Zach, earlier. It's fine that we don't have Hurricane Nia that's causing issues in the house, but I wish we at least had competitive Nia.
I mean, she basically
she is a shell of a person.
I'm trying to think of an NBA comparison.
And just for clarification, you're talking about as a competitor.
As a competitor.
We're not talking about Nia.
As literally the number 2 pick for Hannah's team.
Which, if there was any doubt prior to this episode, it is easily the worst number 2 pick.
Is she like Andrea Bargnani? Like, highly touted, was supposed to be this, and then just nothing. I mean,
watching throughout this entire episode, even in the house, she just looks like she's a ghost.
Andres Biedrins?
That wasn't who I meant, but I mean that's another guy.
Another one.
Yeah,
guy got paid and then was worthless.
Yeah, for the Warriors, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. There's a handful that it's just like.
Wasn't Chandler Parsons like that?
Chandler Parsons, to be fair to him, he's kind of a moron, but
he also dated Bella Thorne.
His knees fell apart on him, and we gave him the front office for the Grizzlies at the time.
That's on Grizzlies.
Threw a ton of money at him without really checking his medicals. That's not the current Grizzlies front office.
We've said it about competitors on this show, right? Like why do they keep coming back? We said it about Melinda, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Same principle applies. They're willing to pay you.
Yeah.
What is Chandler Parsons supposed to turn down? $94 million.
Yeah, and then we traded him to Atlanta, and then he got hit by a drunk driver, and now he did a commercial for his lawyers. That's like, they got me all the money and blah blah blah. Ugh. And he's it sucks. It's a bad situation, but he was like, it ended my career, and I was like, well, your career was over before that.
It had been ended.
But how'd you feel about them playing 311? Did you notice that?
Which song?
Amber.
The only 311 song that anyone knows.
See, I don't.
Amber is the color of your energy.
I don't know.
You don't know that song?
What? I know the song. But
that is one of my favorite songs. It started playing, and I sat on the couch and started singing it, and Zach looked at me funny, and I said, "This is one of my favorite songs."
By the way, very ska adjacent song,
but it's not ska.
It's got reggae vibes to it. Ska was around before reggae. Whatever. It's going to be their most famous song. It's probably going to have 50 million plays. It's 167 million plays.
Golly.
I'm probably 50 million of those.
I'm going to... Where's the chorus? There it is.
Whoa. Amber is the color of your energy.
I can get down with this. It's the...
Whoa.
It's the really nonsensical and
the trombone and trumpet going off.
I
hate that.
What was that?
It's annoying.
Anyway,
that's my description for ska music.
It's
annoying.
You're both wrong.
Amber by 311, that's one of my favorite songs. I play it all the freaking time. Jake, I'm surprised you haven't heard it through the walls next door at work.
It's not a kickboxing song.
No, but I play it in the store after their classes are over.
Well,
when they turn off their music.
You don't crank your stuff like we do ours.
My speaker is about a fourth of the size of your speaker.
Uh-huh.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I actually added Heads Suck It Up to the playlist.
Heads?
Yeah.
Oh, the guitar player from Korn?
Is that who that is?
Brian Head Welch. Yeah.
Is that who that is?
Yeah.
Oh.
Unless you're listening to Head P, which is a whole nother band.
That's it. That's the one.
Oh, Head P?
Head P.
That's a new metal band from the
man, that
late
song
90s.
Suck It Up is a banger.
Did you add that like last week?
I've added it within the last 2 to 3 weeks.
Okay,
yeah.
then I heard it and I was like, this is a new song. What is this?
Oh, yeah. I also added some Power Man 5000.
Yeah, I like
When
that.
Worlds
Just
Collide.
Tony Hawk.
Not
What's the song?
Suck It Up. S-U-K.
And
Are you sure it's Head P?
Yes,
what's
it
so
is.
wild is,
It is.
okay, so like when I
The song came
open
out in 2003.
when I open the store, you guys have about like 15, 20 minutes left in class. So you guys are going at it. I never have anybody in until at least 15 minutes after your class is over. Both days I worked last week, you were playing that, and I had people come in and complain. They're like, "What music are you playing?" And I'm like, "I'm not playing
Fast
music."
forward about 60 seconds in.
And they were
there's a weird
complaining to
intro.
me about it, and I was like, they'll be done in 10 minutes.
Oh, yeah.
This sucks.
No, wait till it gets to the verse and stuff. The chorus is sick, too. Just fast forward a little bit.
Head P was never good.
Yeah. Me in
I
a tiny little
This
like
sucks.
Here comes the chorus. Let it ride. Yeah, right here. I'm not afraid. It's just the end of the day.
If I came in to a new place and they're like, guys, we're going to get amped up and play that, I'd be like, I'm never coming back here.
well, okay, here's the thing. Next door, I'm in a tiny little upscale boutique. And that's coming through the vents next door, and it's like shaking our walls. But the thing is, it's a little what word am I looking for? It's not crisp and clear because it's coming through walls
Muffled?
and vents. Yeah, it's muffled. So it does not sound like volumes at level 100. It does not sound like "suck it up."
Oh,
It sounds like
the F word.
it sounds like the F word. And I almost came over and I was like, "Why are you playing this explicit music?"
Well, I wouldn't, because even there, I'm FTK.
Yeah, and that's
For
the
the
thing. Like
kids.
I knew you guys
TFK,
had
FTK.
you guys had played for the kids like edited versions of songs, and that's like it's like blasting like F it up, and I'm like, what is happening?
Which still applies,
I mean,
Yeah.
Head P is very like C or D level like new metal band.
I don't disagree with you. But that song, it was on the Madden 2003
I was about to say
playlist.
that sounds like it would have been on like an early 2000s video game.
Yeah.
I was specifically
Not the one
thinking
I
like
played.
Street Skater, or I know it wasn't on Street Skater 2 because I had that soundtrack. But they had like Static X, like Push It, and like stuff like that on there. Which I'm surprised you don't play that.
Yeah.
What am I playing? What?
Static X, Push It.
Oh.
Do you know that
I
song?
know that song.
Do you?
Yeah.
What is it? Sing it.
Static X, Push It.
Yeah. Well, we get to the daily, and we find out that last episode, I think it was, they showed Veronica kind of tripping coming down the stairs. We're like, oh, funny.
They showed a little up close of her toe like afterwards because she was talking to Kayla about it, and she like had her foot propped up.
Yeah.
And they did a little zoom in, and I'm like, oh, it looks like she's got a little bruise, but they never said anything else about it, and she kind of like laughed it off.
Have you ever broken your toes?
I've only ever broken my foot, and I did it when I was 2. And I could not tell you what kind of pain that was.
How'd you do it?
I was dancing naked on the cedar chest, and I jumped off.
Why did your parents let you do that when you were 2?
2 years old.
Yeah, that's not a good idea. You clearly broke your foot doing it.
Yeah. There's video out there somewhere of it.
My cousin, when he was about 3, he broke his foot doing something along those lines, and because there's an old home movie of my first birthday, and he has a mullet and a big foot, like it's big cast like on his foot, and they give me presents, and he just opened all of them himself. And yeah, they DQ Veronica, send her home. I broke my toe one time when I was a teenager, running down some stairs barefoot. I caught the edge of the stair with my big toe, and it just bent all the way backwards and broke. And you just, I mean, not backwards, sorry, like just down. Like not up like that, but like it just went down until
beneath your foot.
Yeah, until it
like
cracked.
You were breaking it off.
Kind of, yeah. And it
like
just,
the Toblerone.
There's not really you can just do. You just gotta like, let it heal. Yeah, that sucked.
I've never broken anything.
I think that's the only time I've for sure broken something. Because again, like I went. Did we record last week after I'd? Oh yeah, because I'd fallen with the bees.
You thought you broke your wrist.
The next day, I went and got an X-ray, and I don't think I talked about that on the podcast. Did we record on Monday or Tuesday last week?
You hadn't gotten the X-ray yet.
Okay, yeah, because
it was Monday.
Yeah, this was the day
because I left on Tuesday.
I went and got update. I went and got an X-ray because the next day it hurt so much worse, and I had no movement in my wrist at all. If I tried to rotate one way or the other, like it was excruciating pain. And I went to the doctor, and he was like, he's looked at how much I can move it and all that. He's like, it's probably broken. And he's like, if you just broke the little end of that bone, he's like, we'll set it in a cast and, whatever. And he was like, if you like splintered it and like fragments or something in there, he's like, we'll have to meet with like an orthopedic surgeon. And I was like, God, I didn't even think about that. And like, I just thought I might have to get a cast. And so we went and did x-rays, and he came back and he's like, your bones must be made of rubber. He's like, I don't see any fractures here. He's like, we'll let radiology look over it. He's like, it appears like you just like really sprained it really bad. And he's like, it just somehow didn't break. And so he's like, just wear that splint for the next like 4 days or so and take a lot of Advil if you need it. And he's like, just kind of see how it goes from there. He's like, I don't see any breaks here. And like, it's better now. Like, I still don't have full rotation because it just hurts, but I'd say I'm like 75% of the way back. I played tennis the other night. Luckily, I have a one-hand backhand, so I don't really use my left hand very much, other than the toss. But yeah, I thought I broke it for real, but I think the only time I've ever broke it is the toe.
Miracles do still happen.
Yeah.
So I can relate to Veronica. I never was disqualified for anything.
What an awful way to go out. Though.
Yeah,
seriously.
So far in, she's having a great season. TJ, when he told her she was medically disqualified, he like was talking to her. He's like, "You've done so well," blah, blah, blah. And he said, "Please, please come back." That doesn't happen often, where he's like very vocal about asking someone to come back.
Yeah,
so they don't get discouraged.
Who did he say earlier on this season was his favorite person to ever be on this show? It was somebody that we were all like, that's a guy. Odd choice. Yeah.
Was it? Is yes?
Yeah,
it was yes.
Right. Oh, yeah.
Yes. And maybe they just like on a personal level outside of the show they like get along pretty well. But yeah, I think just based on how well All Stars is going, I think there's going to for sure be other seasons.
There has to be,
because it's just that good. So,
but with Veronica now being medically disqualified, Sylvia's already gone out. Ronnie just went out the last episode, so this means Kayla and Derek are the only people from the treehouse left.
And I'd say that's not much of an alliance.
Yeah. Not really. They
Derek just happened to be in that room. Yeah.
But Kayla, really, with Veronica gone, Kayla's really just on her own now.
Yeah, for sure. And I kind of forgot I have Veronica on my team, but luckily, compared to you guys, I have plenty of people to spare.
Well, what's wild, Zach, is, there's a cliffhanger, but, I mean...
You could lose both your people in this game.
Yeah, well, you could lose 3.
I could lose 3.
Ooh.
But, like, also, Jake, you might... There's a legitimate chance you could lose Nehemiah and Kayla and not have any players left.
Be out.
Wow.
That's never happened before. We've never had any of the 3 of us a whole team be gone before the final.
Yeah, that's definitely true. It's possible in this episode. And yeah, I could lose Kellyanne, Veronica, and Derek. But I still would have Wes, Mark, and Brad. Like that's still like I'm still sitting pretty good. So
you're probably guaranteed a winner out of those 3.
I would assume so. I have my top 6 picks. The ones if all 3 of them went home, I would lose 4, 5, and 6. I would still have my 1, 2, and 3. I gotta say that's
you
the
don't
best,
have to rub it in.
We've had, I think
so.
Jeez.
So
it also may be the worst draft we've had with Hannah.
It might be.
I have 2 players left. She has 2 players left, but one of those players may as well have gone home.
Nobody could have known that Nia would turn out like this on her comeback season.
I agree. I think she should probably gone in like the 4 or 5 range. But I don't think. Yeah, I really honestly don't think any of us thought she'd be like this bad.
We knew going into it that she would be more subdued.
Yeah.
Nobody could have known she wouldn't even really compete.
Well, yeah, especially in today's daily flight pattern, which again, if anything, she should be a little more prepared than most people because her job is on an airplane, on a private jet. So it's not even like commercial stuff.
It's the little ones.
And those little ones are sometimes scarier because you feel a lot more of the air pressure and all that type of stuff. And she just loses it. And I mean, obviously she didn't go first, but we do find out that the women's round or the women's winner gets Veronica's star. So it's a little add-on, which we still don't know what the stars mean. But yeah, I didn't really write who the round by round. I really didn't make any notes until Nia and Brad are about to go up, which is round 3 or maybe round 4. But she starts freaking out before they even board. Mm-hmm. And Brad comes around to her, and he's like, "Hey, let's just remember." All these other people have gone in front of us. There's 6 people that have already gone. Every one of them were fine. We're going to be okay. You're going to be upset with yourself if you don't do this. Very level-headed speech.
The ultimate hype man, speech giver. This is where we see his inner teacher come out.
Yeah, it was very subdued, but you can do this. You're going to regret it if you don't. Mm-hmm. Also, you're going to be fine. We've already have a sample size of these people who are all fine. And she says she's afraid to hit her face on the water or something like that. So
maybe because she's seen Katie do it so many times.
A little bit of Katie in her. Katie at least has past trauma with it.
Yeah, and still does it though.
This just seems further just
her head's not in it.
She's checked out.
It's just I don't think we've ever seen anyone so shut down because someone else went home. I mean, we've seen it. We've seen people shut down, but I don't know that we've seen it to this.
I was gonna
say
that kid that quit because he missed his girlfriend, but his girlfriend wasn't on the show.
His girlfriend wasn't on the show.
Yeah.
Brandon.
She didn't get voted off.
That was Brie LaQuesta's partner.
Yeah,
and she got sent home over that, which sucks. Shout out to her. She's about to have a baby. Good for her.
Oh, good for her.
So she's part Filipino too.
Yeah, represent.
But she's just
gone,
falling apart. There's, again, it's like you said before the helicopter even took off. She's just.
It's honestly she just found out Jordyn died, and she's doesn't know how to process.
She's
it.
still grieving,
and which would make sense because she wished he would die. So if that would have happened, she would have blamed herself. But
yeah, her prayers would have come true.
And not to jump too far ahead, but it carries on into after the daily when her and John A are talking, and she says, "I'm terrified, John A. I'm heavily unprepared." And it's just weird.
Yeah.
This is the girl who thrived off of competition and heated interactions, and now is just
and her and Leroy in that one elimination where they did the
log thing.
That Leroy kills everyone in.
Yeah.
But Nia killed it too.
Exactly. She's a threat in eliminations. She one-shotted that maze thing.
Yeah.
And
she used to instill fear in others, and now
she's physically
she is
imposing.
fear itself.
I think if she would have gone into this elimination against Kayla or Kellyanne,
she would have quit.
Well, no, I was going to say she still would on paper have.
I still would have given her the advantage.
Yeah, because she's still just a lot bigger than them, and it's a more of a pull your weight around type thing. But if your head's not in it, I mean.
But for whatever reason, she seemed to be locked in during the elimination because she wanted to dog walk Kayla.
Yeah, which I did appreciate that phrasing.
I did.
Maybe because it's one-on-one and it's physical.
I guess you can kind of psych yourself up for that. Yeah.
I don't know. But, I mean, back to the daily.
She just gives up.
Brad comes around, gives her a pep talk, and she's like, okay, let's get up there before I change my mind.
Yeah.
They get strapped up. Copter gets up in the air. And
you call it a copter? Copter.
Anyway, it gets up in the air, and she starts to freak out again.
Yeah.
And doesn't
she was like, "Are you guys gonna go any lower?"
Yeah, she doesn't stand up.
Yeah.
And she just kind of sits there and cries, and she's like, I can't do this.
Yeah, and the producer gave her multiple. It's like, "Are you sure?" Yes.
She
Are you
tried to talk
sure?
her out of it.
And then radio's over. She's giving up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the guy on the other end just went, "Thumbs up, okay."
Yeah, she and then there's that shot of her just bawling her eyes out.
Yeah.
And, you know, like, I feel like I'm going to cry that way when my dog dies.
Yeah.
You know, it's just weird, you know. I don't, and then, you know.
It is like she's experienced, like, a traumatic death.
They go to announce the winners, and before it goes to that commercial break, it cues to her, and she's like.
It's just Kayla turning around because she had to be, like, audibly, like, making noise or something. Yeah. Kayla's, like, just staring at her.
Like, what's wrong with you, girl?
That's weird.
Brad calls himself Captain Beardo, and he says it's been 11 years since he's made a final, which I was thinking, is that Cutthroat? Is that the last final? That would have been 2013. That would have been 11.
Probably.
Oh, wait. That math's not right, but maybe it's 2011.
Yeah, your math ain't mathin'.
He made Cutthroat final, though, right?
They won.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah. Was that one he did with
Tori,
yeah.
Yeah, they won, so that probably is his last one.
Huh.
Maybe it wasn't quite 11 years, because I thought that came out in 2013, but maybe it didn't. Yeah, Nehemiah is the last person to go, which if they would have known Nia was sitting out, they could have skipped a whole helicopter ride and just put Nehemiah and Brad together. But Nehemiah had a saying in a confessional, which makes me think that, well, it's a lot easier to say that in hindsight than it is. Like, he was like, this has all been by design, why I haven't been in the authority, why I haven't basically been in the top 3.
He said he has been strategically laying low because winning dailies puts you in the authority, which paints a target on your back. And then he says that he's Black James Bond and he has arrived.
I love Nehemiah. I think it's very convenient to say that when you haven't been performing well.
I agree.
Be like, oh, it's by design. Yeah.
Because you can't predict that. Like, you can't be in these dailies and, you know.
I can't lose, but got to come in 3rd or 4th or whatever. Yeah. There's too much, like, randomness to it.
Yeah.
So we find out that only 2 guys got it right, and it's Mark and Derek, but Mark is the one that ends up winning.
Same thing happens with the women.
Well, kind of. Kellyanne actually beat John A., but she didn't follow that red line rule and oriented her puzzle 90 degrees the wrong direction. And so she would have won, except that they said you got to have, like, the red line is the top of the puzzle, and she didn't do that. And so that John A. wins by default.
This is where we get Nia's confessional saying that basically her mind is telling her that she quit the daily, so she can't win anyway, and so she might as well just go ahead and quit.
Yeah, and that's when they cut to that shot Jake was talking about where she looks like she's about to cry, and Kayla's looking at her, and I my note was just like, Nia's falling apart.
Yeah.
Like,
well, they showed her standing there like losing it. Plus they played her saying she might as well quit. I thought for sure post commercial break that she would come out before TJ announced the female winner and just quit altogether.
If her whole thing is like she's like her competing is to make Jordyn proud, like,
she's not
this
making
is
him
not
proud.
the way to do that. Like, he is the exact opposite of what she's shown in this episode for sure. It's like his whole thing is like, who cares if all the odds are against me and I don't have the motivation? I'm going to make myself the motivation.
Yeah,
which is why I think there's real, blinders on in the sense of love here, because there's no way, if love's not involved, that Jordyn looks at her and thinks anything other than she's a chump.
I think they have a very unique relationship based on their past, like, dynamics and all that. I don't think they're together though. Like, currently.
No, I don't think so.
Because, like, I sent you guys a screenshot that she was, like, in Italy, like, on Bumble and, like, looking for dates and stuff. And I was like, I don't think you would. Although, from what I remember with Tori and Jordyn's relationship, he wanted it to be an open relationship, and that's kind of where they all fell apart.
That's right. That's why she didn't want to get married.
Huh. It's a situationship, a romantic or sexual relationship that is not considered to be formal or established. That's what I think it is.
Did you write that definition?
No, it's Google.
Okay. Well, regardless, John A. wins Veronica's star. So I don't know how many she has now. But we get to the house, and Wes and Nehemiah are kind of talking, and they think that, hey, let's do the math here. Derek has the most stars. We don't know what the stars are for, but we probably need them going into the final. They may be advantages, and so they're like, whichever one of us goes in, we need to pick Derek, and they're like, why give Derek the choice? Like, Nehemiah's like, no, I'm cool, just like letting it ride out, and Wes is like, well, I want to go in, and
Wes even asks Nehemiah if he would want himself, Wes, to be the one of the two of them to volunteer for that elimination and take out.
He's like, yeah,
Derek.
that's cool. And Nehemiah's like, I'm trying to play it like Wes trying to take it into his own hands, and I was trying to like let it ride out, and
let the chips fall where they may.
Yeah, and then Wes makes a pretty big Mario Kart reference about throwing shells back behind him like the stars and bananas, and
we talked about Mario Kart when he was last on here.
Did we?
Yes, we did.
I
have the video of it.
Okay.
Do you go back and watch that often?
No, it's on my highlights.
He listens to it every night before he goes to sleep.
The whole 3 hours.
Hold on. It's just a little like 60-second clip here.
I genuinely don't remember talking about Mario Kart.
Yeah, sit tight, everybody. Let's.
It's good foreshadowing though. He talked about throwing bananas behind him, and then
yeah. So I mean, Wes and Nehemiah talk about that. Brad is standing there, kind of listening in.
Yeah, Brad's kind of playing both sides.
And then it cuts to the next scene, and Brad is standing.
He's just
in the background listening to Mark and Derek talk, and
he looks like a bartender because he's behind the bar just kind of looking back and forth
with his arms crossed.
Here we go.
Jake's got it. Pull it up.
I roll with Toad.
Here we go.
So in Mario Kart, I roll with Toad.
What do you think that says about you?
Oh yeah, it's a psychological thing.
I'm a big believer in the little guy.
Okay. Okay. And right now, I mean,
So yeah, we talked about Mario Kart before. That was it. So.
That was it. That was the one.
Well, then we get into some other things.
Okay.
But anyway,
it sounds like you talked about Mario Kart, and Wes said, "What do you think that says about you?"
I'm a big believer in the little guy.
Yeah.
So yeah, good. Again, Mark decides basically, hey, they're going to go after Derek because he's got the most stars. They're not going to go after Brad because Brad's doesn't have the stars, and he's a thicker like threat. Basically, like didn't want to say it, but he was just like Derek's the play, and so we don't need to give them the choice. Like we need to let Derek have the choice, and he can decide once he gets down there because he's going in regardless. Because they're not going to pick each other, like Wes and Nehemiah. And then they cut to Wes and Mark kind of talking. He's like, I gotta go make a business call. And at this point, I was like, I bet he's gonna call Bananas because the episode title was like
Going Bananas.
Going Bananas. I was like, he's gonna call Johnny Bananas, and because he knows that that's good TV. The producers know that everyone will love it if Bananas makes an appearance on here, especially with Wes. I was like, it wouldn't surprise me if someone's like, hey, you should call Bananas because it'd be funny.
Yeah.
I mean, clearly Bananas knew he was getting called because he had the like prop set up and like thong and all that stuff.
So it's like a consultation call.
I gotta say, Bananas, for someone who has done some like live streaming on like Twitch and stuff like that, his audio was awful. I think it looked like he was using like Raycons or something like that. And if that's the mic that comes on Raycons, they should be thrown in the garbage. Because even like Mark's mom, when they FaceTimed, sounded like 100 times better than what Bananas did.
And wasn't she like out on a boat or something? Or was that somebody else?
I think that was someone on either Spies, Lies, and Allies, or I think that may have been like Devin's mom.
Oh, that was Devin's mom.
But yeah, Bananas' audio was really awful. But again, good timing. Like, oh, let me go get my thinking cap, and then he bends over. That's just like old school comedy. Mm-hmm. That reminded me of like the Naked Gun movies or something. Mm-hmm. And then Wes is like, should I go and try to get all these stars, even though it's against Derek? And I believe Johnny gets biblical, and he's like, pride comes before the fall. And he's like, you can do whatever you want. And he's like, it just depends on if you're willing to risk it or not.
Wes didn't really need consultation or advice on this. He knew what he wanted to do.
Like, this is a good TV
moment. It was a good TV moment. And especially challenge.
You know what? I gotta admit, like, I missed Bananas the last couple seasons.
I missed Bananas.
For sure.
Like, just that little interaction, I was like, man, he's good on this show.
And I'm not even a big Bananas fan.
I'm not either, but I appreciate what he does for the show. Mm-hmm. And again, I believe he was supposed to be on this season, right?
Yes.
Do you think that's why he did the FaceTime call with Wes?
Probably. I don't remember what came up, but he was on the initial cast, and then like he got replaced like at the last minute, with I think Tyler.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
If you imagine that guy's side without Tyler, but you had bananas, that is insane.
That flips the script.
But that makes Nehemiah the weakest guy, and if he's the weakest guy,
he's made it this far.
Yeah.
That's or Cyrus.
Yeah, but
Cyrus would be the weakest guy.
But still, like Tyler was clearly the weakest guy coming in here by a long shot.
He ain't cut out for this no more.
No.
He's busy teaching.
He is like way up in like North Dakota or something. And again, like he's Johnny. Like God, I can't even imagine the guy's side if you have Johnny in there instead of Tyler, because it's a different show.
Yeah, it's totally different.
Anyway, we find out that Kellyanne has approached John A. and says she wants to go in, but only because she heard that Nia wants to go in. And then Kayla's like, well, I'll go in. And it's just like everyone's kind of throwing themselves because now the West situation, like if you think you're going in regardless, you might as well have the option.
Yeah, you want to be the one that's chosen by the authority.
Even though you'll get negative fantasy points for it.
But you can still have, if you're the one voted in, you have the opportunity to choose who you go against after being able to kind of eyeball what the elimination might be. You are the one who has the upper hand if you're voted in.
Especially today in the arena, because like once they got down there, everyone knew immediately. It's some version of like pole wrestle. Mm-hmm. But we get to the authority. Mark says right away he wants to take Brad and Nehemiah off the table, because him and Nehemiah had bonded over, because Mark said his mom is going through cancer treatment. Yeah. Nehemiah lost his dad, and he's like, we bonded, we cried in the kitchen, nobody even saw that. And I guess they kind of formed a relationship that we haven't seen on TV, but he wants to take them off, and basically he's like, we want to pick Derek. Give him the best option to win.
John A. tried to advocate for Wes being the vote,
but out of like spite.
Yeah,
and she's like, I want him to be humiliated or whatever.
At first she's like, he just keeps talking, and she's like, I really just want to shut him up. And then Mark's like, well, let's try and do Derek instead, and then he can pick Wes. La-di-da-di-da.
I think if Wes was a pick, he would 100% taken Derek.
Yeah, absolutely,
because he's beat him in pole wrestle. And Derek's the smallest guy there.
Mm-hmm. But Mark actually ends up being able to convince John A. to let Derek be the one to have the choice.
Yeah, so Kayla and Derek are the picks. And we go to the arena, and I thought, honestly, because I think it's happened already once the season when Jimmy went home, I thought he might say, well, you were picked, but there's no female elimination today because we already lost Veronica. But I think maybe there's like, we're this close to the final. If we have 3 or 2 or whatever, it doesn't matter. As long as they're not doing partnered stuff in the final, it should be fine.
Which I hope they're not doing partnered stuff.
Well, sometimes they'll do like a leg, like you're partnered with this one for leg 1 and this one for.
Well, if that's the case, there's going to have to be another guy go home.
Yeah,
right.
I would think so.
Maybe there's a purge or an elimination at the beginning of the final.
I don't think so. I guess they could do like an on-the-spot elimination. But Kayla chooses Kellyanne, which I was like, that makes the most sense. She can either choose her or Nia.
Even though Nia has been checked out everywhere else in the house,
she's still much bigger.
It still would have been dumb to pick Nia to go against in pole wrestle.
Kellyanne is like, she's very endurance-based, whatever, but she's very like frail looking.
Frail was exactly the word I was about to say.
She's very slight. Like, she doesn't have a lot of muscle build to her. She's extremely skinny, and like Kayla's not big at all. But
she has a little more weight.
She's got more like tone to her. Like, it's just it. But they match up better than Nia. Nia's like 4 or 5 inches taller than both of them.
Yeah.
And so, like, again, this is a whole thing about throwing your weight around, moving the person, and so Kellyanne's the natural pick. Derek in his confessional talks about how much he wants to mess up Wes and whatever. Ever
since their pole wrestle elimination years ago, he has been waiting for an opportunity to call out Wes and have a rematch.
He's scared of Wes in this.
So we've all felt like this whole Derek Nehemiah thing has been really weird over the 3 seasons. Like, very force fabricated, but I felt like I felt like this was legitimate pissed off Nehemiah.
Yes, I agree.
I really felt like he was like, all right, this dude's getting on my nerves now.
Yeah, I'd honestly forgot that they had like burned votes on each other in All Stars 1 until they showed that flashback.
Yeah.
And that kind of seems to be where it started. And season 2, very forced feeling. We all kind of were annoyed with it. This one, it did seem like Nehemiah was just like, oh, he thinks I'm the weakest out of the people up here. Like, well, let's prove him wrong.
Because Derek made a little speech about how he would love to go against Wes and have a rematch and win, but that he's got his family to think about and he doesn't want to risk it.
Well, that right there shows you that he doesn't think he can be Wes.
Exactly. But also to give that speech is basically saying, I think I would have to fight a lot harder against Wes. There's a chance I don't win, but if I go against Nehemiah, I know for a fact I'm going to win.
It seems like he's like, yeah, I can beat Nehemiah for sure. And if I am remembering right, again, Derek's crazy in eliminations. I believe the reason he lost to Joss is because Joss thought it was over.
Yeah, Joss let go.
He let go, and he's like, oh, it's done.
He thought he heard the whistle.
Yeah.
That's why he let go.
And because that was a crazy one where they went for like an hour and 15 minutes or something. And if that's the case, in a pole wrestle, Wes has already beat him. Joss potentially would have beat him. So it's not like he's an outright favorite for this, even though endurance is his thing. He still is small compared to a lot of them. And so I think like just if you're going for the TV moment, whatever, like you call out Wes. But I mean, if you think he can beat you, then you don't, obviously. And so he picks Nehemiah. We find out it's called Light My Fire. It's basically pole wrestle, except you have to just then light your thing. I don't know how that's going to work, if I'm being honest, because sometimes with the pyrotechnics and stuff on this show, it doesn't go as smoothly as what they plan. And
I mean, production should know better by now.
I just think you might have somebody like trying to reach up and light, and then they just might get like tackled. Like nailed and like hit the barrel or whatever. Like I don't know. I genuinely don't know, because the thing is, it's like get it away from the person, and so if you do, you're going to be running for that. The other person's going to have momentum. They're not going to try to give up, unless it's maybe Naya, but she's not in it. And so I don't know. I am kind of frustrated. It's a cliffhanger. But I hope that means that it's a really good elimination on both sides.
Well, if what we saw is in the indicator. Nehemiah's messing him up.
I mean,
that's what Wes told him. He's like, F him up, make sure he doesn't have a family
Nehemiah
to go home
said,
to.
he said, I didn't get Zen to save people for me. He said, I got Zen to save other people from me.
That was a little cringy to me, if I'm being honest.
Yeah, it was weird, but he was saying, maybe he was just like kind of amping himself up.
I definitely think he was trying to get in the moment.
But you could tell he was like really upset.
He did the Conor McGregor walk once they got down to the bottom of the stairs. And yeah, Wes, was it, he said, make him like think he doesn't have a family to go home to or something like that.
He made a statement. He's not going to have a family to go back to.
Can you imagine if you lost on a show like this and your family was like, we don't want anything to do with you?
You lost us.
Yeah. You embarrassed us all. Yeah, I don't know. And like we were watching it and I didn't know it was going to be a cliffhanger. Jake came in as we were watching it and he had already seen it. And so I was like, someone's going to get hurt. Like we already saw Tyler at the end of last season, a similar elimination, gets wrist broken, ribs broken, stuff like that. Ace on season 1 from Lateria. I know it's Latarian, but I was like, these guys are not going to give up. They're both too prideful and like too far along in the game that they'll fight through whatever injuries, and they'll they may look up at the end and be like, oh, I won, but I broke my wrist, and it's like, well, you can't run the final now.
Yeah.
And I think
they would both do it anyway.
I hope that's not the situation. I hope we have a good elimination. I do hope Nehemiah wins, if I'm being honest.
Yeah.
I do too, Zach.
Okay.
I do.
Jake.
Oh, he's on your team.
Jake,
yeah.
you have Nehemiah?
As someone who has Derek, I do hope Nehemiah wins.
Jake, you have Nehemiah, and I hope Nehemiah wins.
I can afford the loss of Derek.
Well, it's my players against your players.
Yeah, it is.
It's Nehemiah against Derek and Kayla against Kellyanne, and there's
to be fair, I think you're favored on both matchups.
I think so too.
But I am like so far ahead in fantasy points that it doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter.
This will be a big. If I can pull this off and go in with two people in the final.
If you lose both of them, obviously you're done.
It's done.
Yeah, I could probably give you one of mine, and you still would be done. Mm-hmm. we got left with a cliffhanger. We were not told this was the last elimination, were we? Or did they say that?
I
don't think so.
Okay, so it seems like there's going to be at least one more, and so this is not going to be the final group at all. I will say it seems like John A is a favorite to be. Oh, you know what though? We saw previews from what looked like the final, and we saw certain people out there running it. So
this has to be it then.
Yeah, because they showed like Nia, and I was like, oh, I'm surprised they honestly showed her out there running like in what looks like a final.
I mean, unless it's a really hard daily.
And then they showed Wes and some other ones. I don't know. They basically showed everyone except who's in the eliminations for tonight.
Yeah.
And so maybe it is guaranteed that these people have made the final at this point. We just haven't heard it officially. So as far as superlatives go, who smashed some heads?
TJ with that medical DQ. Veronica.
Dairy Queen.
Yeah. Veronica was really upset about the ice cream and
soft serve. It gives her diarrhea.
Yeah, and maybe it wasn't frozen enough. You know, they have to hold it upside down when they hand it to you. Probably all fell out. I would be really upset about that too. So it was just a real devastating day for her.
Nehemiah, because a la John Morant, he's going to the dark place.
Did he say that?
He did.
Okay. Mm-hmm. I didn't catch that one. That's a good call. I'm gonna go with I gotta give it to Mark, man. He's 51, and like this is I think he's had a stronger season this time than he did on All Stars 1.
Agreed.
And like he just is a freak of a man, and who knows, he might be doing. We may look up and he is 60 doing these shows.
It's not out of the realm of possibility because look at him now.
If that's the case, like there's not going to be any other 60-year-olds that can be up here.
Well, it gives us hope to have guys like Wes, Bananas, guys like that around for another 10 years.
Well, so speaking of that, like on that news, which you guys haven't listened to or watched anything, the new not Survivor, but the new Challenge CBS or whatever, USA, whatever it's called, a lot of the first-time players are like 42, 43.
Wow.
Like a lot of the people from Survivor and stuff are older. Tasha, who was on the Survivor season we watched.
Yeah.
You remember her?
She was on the Brainiacs team.
She's 45.
No way.
Yeah, she's apparently a professional bodybuilder now.
Oh.
Wow.
Yeah, and I was like, good Lord. I was like, she looks great for 45.
So does that mean she would not be on the Brainiacs team anymore?
I don't know.
Does she move to Braun?
I don't know. I don't know if you recast that, how it works, but like honestly, the majority of the people on this new season are at least like mid-30s on up.
Wow.
So it's gonna be interesting going into that.
I mean, how old is Cyrus? He
50.
Yeah.
He's 50.
So he came
Best
on
shape of his life.
He came on one of the other seasons, was a little out of shape, was a little slower.
To be fair, he's always been a little out of shape and a little
but
slow.
Came back this season, way better shape.
Oh, he was on Instagram yesterday, and he was like, let me show. I don't even remember what he said, but he was like, he basically wanted to show you how much he was working, and he like took his shirt off and like wrung out the sweat into a cup. And I was like, this is really gross.
The sweat?
Yeah. Oh, didn't Nia drink Zach's sweat and
Yes, she did.
Yes.
Yeah.
Gross.
Maybe she should hook up with Cyrus and see what he's doing.
Maybe not.
So who got their head smashed?
Nia, whole episode.
I mean, it's pretty tough to not give it to her.
Derek, because he's not going to have a family to go back to.
That's a good one.
Well, then I'll give it to Veronica because she was this close and got sent home. Like, I don't think, being fully honest, like, Veronica's not made for the final anymore. I don't think she would have been a threat in the final compared to all these other women that are still here. But it sucks to go home like this close.
I think she was having a good season.
Yes, but like the final is all endurance for the most part, and that is not her strong suit anymore, if ever. Like her thing was all political and stuff. So 3-time champ, shout out to Veronica. So like we've been doing every week for this season, video game recommendations. And I've got 2 that I'm jostling between, so I may do one this week and one next week. Do you have yours picked out yet?
Yeah, I got mine.
Okay, because you didn't know when we started recording.
Yeah.
Okay, Hannah, you've got a list that you've had for weeks apparently.
I've started making a list of all
Checking
the
it
video games that I remember playing. You're not going to guess this.
What was
one.
last week's?
Last week's was
I already forgot.
The Lord of the Rings: The Two Towers from 2002.
That's a good game.
This week's is a little bit older. It's Mary-Kate and Ashley Olsen Magical Mystery Mall on PlayStation 1 from the year 2000. That game, there's just certain parts of the game that are just burned into my memory that'll never go away.
Were you a big Mary-Kate and Ashley Olsen home video fan?
Yes.
Okay.
It
Takes Two is a great movie.
Yeah.
I liked that movie growing up.
When I was a little kid, I used to watch their TV show in the morning where they were
like detectives.
Yeah, they were detectives, and
Not
I
Full
loved
House.
it. No, not Full House. They were a little bit older, but I loved watching them be detectives, and then I watched all their movies. I really liked it.
Have you seen the YouTube video where it's the pizza party that someone has slowed it down to like 50%, and it is like an acid trip? It is wild to watch. And when I was in college, like I had some friends that were like obsessed with that video. I'll show it to you after this.
Cool. Well, the part that really sticks out from the video game Magical Mystery Mall is there's a snowboarding part.
What does that have to do with a mall?
No, I was thinking of this part of the game, and I couldn't remember that it was part of this game. And so, like, I typed it in trying to search for it because I knew I can see the graphic in my mind, and I kept thinking, what game is this? And, like, after doing research, I figured out it was part of this game.
Okay.
And I was thinking it was another game. And so I was thinking I was playing two different games, but it was actually the same.
Because that doesn't make any sense to have snowboarding in the middle of a mall game.
No, it doesn't. I don't remember the premise of the game. It wasn't mine. It was my older cousin Brittany's. And so anytime I would come into town and stay with her, we would watch Titanic on the two.
Because you loved the nudity scene.
I didn't. She was obsessed with it.
The nudity scene in particular?
She was obsessed with the movie.
How did we get to this?
It was so long. It was so long that it came on two different VHS tapes.
Yeah, I remember that.
And so she would always make me watch it all the way through and then play Mary-Kate and Ashley Olsen Magical Mystery Mall on PlayStation 1.
Gotta be honest, I've never heard of that game. A lot of licensed Mary-Kate and Ashley Olsen stuff in that era.
Yeah, they were making a freaking killing.
And now their sister's the most famous one, Elizabeth.
Yep. And she's not even a twin.
Also, best actor out of all of them.
Yep.
Yeah, agreed.
So, what's yours?
So, I think we're all here pretty big superhero fans.
Right? I know where you're going already with this.
You probably think you do.
Okay, maybe you don't then.
But
you're gonna pick Superman 64.
I am not.
It's the worst, one of the worst games of all time.
So they, a couple of years back, released probably the best Spider-Man game ever made.
Correct. And the other ones on PlayStation weren't bad.
Unbelievable.
Yeah.
I specifically want to give it to Spider-Man 2.
Yeah, on PS1.
So I played it on GameCube.
But it was that era.
It was that era, and that was the blueprint for how to make a good Spider-Man game. The Spider-Man 1 movie game was good, but it was very linear. Like you had a level, right, and but it was still really fun. But this was open world Spider-Man. You had to swing to your objectives, and like do all the like
going back to Hannah's thing. I had a demo of that on PlayStation, and I would play the demo a lot.
And
I never
you
owned
gave
the game.
me crap for playing Spyro.
No, I didn't. I just said that would not ever be a pick for a game because I've never experienced the whole thing.
But it was so cool because you were able to like upgrade Spider-Man's abilities too, like swing speed, unlike different combos and stuff like that. And but man, I would spend I'd spend hours just swinging around the city.
Is that the one where Doc Ock is chasing you down a hall as like one of the final bosses?
No, but that's another good one.
Okay.
That's based around the comic books.
Okay, yeah.
Not the comic books, the animated show that was around. That's also a really good one. That was a super fun game too, but as far as like when they really got it right, like Spider-Man 2 was it. But the honorable mention to Spider-Man 1 and just Spider-Man on PS1. I think it was on N64 too. It was on Dreamcast.
Surprisingly, most Spider-Man games have been good.
Yeah.
Because
I've heard they're all good.
The new one's incredible.
Yeah.
Like, it's so good. It's so fun. I haven't played Miles Morales yet. I'm so excited that the same team is making a Wolverine game. Mm-hmm. That's going to be incredible. Like maybe one of my favorite games of all time. For me, I was actually picking between two games, and I have I picked Roller Coaster Tycoon this?
You have not.
Okay, so I'm gonna pick that. Actually, wasn't the two that I had written down. I'm gonna pick that because that was a game that I had on the computer back in the day. But I wasn't like PC Master Race or anything like that. I just was like, oh, this game's available only on the computer, and so I would spend hours playing Roller Coaster Tycoon on my computer. And then when we went on vacation somewhere a few years ago, I bought it on my iPad, and I just played it for like way too much. And then I was like, I got to stop playing this.
You got sucked back in.
Yeah, because for whatever reason, like that the way that game works, like the first like 2 or 3, before they like changed the graphics and like it probably had new developers and all that, I just loved it, and the park management, building the new rides and all that stuff. And so that does kind of suck me into to that type of thing. They made a newer game that was very microtransaction-y, where it was like, oh, you can build a carousel, but it's going to take 8 hours, or you can pay 11 tickets, and that's for like $5 in real life. And after doing that for a little while, I was like, this is too much. Like I wanting to spend real money because it's taking forever. And so I just deleted that. But the original Roller Coaster Tycoon, they did make it on iPad, and it is very fun to play if you enjoyed it back in the late 90s, early 2000s, whenever it was.
Back in the heyday.
In the heyday, yeah. When your mom needed to get on the internet and they'd have to kick everybody off the phone, and you had to get off the computer and all that stuff.
You'd have to dial up and wait.
Yeah. I wonder if we played that for some like Gen Z kids, like that sound, if they would know what was going on. Because it had a distinct pattern and rhythm to it.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. I mean, like, I can hear it right now in my brain.
And if someone at your house picked up the phone, it'd kick you off the internet.
Yeah.
What a world! What a world we lived in.
I wonder
how did we survive it?
I wonder if we played it for my youngest sister and Jake, your youngest brother, if they would know what it is. Because they're about the same age.
I mean, you can test run it at some point, you know.
We got to get them in the same room, but not.
It didn't happen.
Not together though.
Because they might kiss.
No. Did you know that they hung out one time and they both were not interested in each other, even though they had a crush on each other beforehand?
Are we talking about I don't care to say his name on here. Jagger?
Yeah.
Yeah, I knew they hung out. Yeah.
Yeah.
He thought she was boring.
Yeah, I told her about that yesterday, and she was really offended.
Mm-hmm. Apparently, she's offended about a lot of things.
But then,
well, you just ruined his chances for good.
Well, no. The thing was, before that, she was like, "Yeah, we hung out. It was kind of boring, though. Like we didn't really do anything."
They both were bored.
And so I told her, I said, "Well, now that you mention it,
he thought you were awful."
He actually told Jake that he was a little bored, and she took it to heart. She's like, "He thought I was boring," and I was like, "You literally just said that hangout was boring. So why are you upset?"
Yeah, her sister's very like dry, like, oh, let's be mean to each other. And apparently I was that way to her recently, and she got really offended by it, but didn't tell me. And
she just told me.
Tell Hannah.
She just told me about it yesterday.
She was like, I can't believe he like, and I was like, I never have said anything like malicious to her. Anyway, maybe she's just boring. Maybe that's what it was.
She's got to be in the mood for it, I guess.
All right, so let's get into the fantasy stuff.
Right. Well, the transition I was going to make was
okay.
Han. It sounds like she may could use some Mucinex.
My nose is runny.
Well, it's not for that. Confirmed by a pharmacist.
Well, that's because we haven't created our Congestion X.
Congestion X.
Right. So
that doesn't really roll off the tongue like Mucinex.
It's fine. We just have to find a lab, though. I don't know where to find a lab.
Well,
do they just make those?
I'll let you answer that.
No.
Oh, cool.
We're getting into our fantasy segment here. Got that nose running.
Mucinex.
Let's start off by giving Mark 5 points for Plush Mark making an appearance again. Mm-hmm. Mark might play this game until he's 60. 10 points.
You should give him 60 points for that.
That's a lot. We will give him and Derek 15 points for being the only 4-star generals. -10 to Nia. She can't do it anymore.
She's gonna have a negative day.
I feel it.
-10 because she lost her why.
I think after today's episode, even with that one elimination win episode where she got a lot of points, she'd still probably be in the negative.
Probably. We'll have
For
to
the
do
whole
that at the end
season.
of the season.
Just see if she was in the
Yeah.
negative or not.
We're going to give 15 to Nehemiah for the quote, having a why is very important. It's true.
Very philosophical, Nehemiah.
He wants to help Nia be her own why. 10 points to Nehemiah. We get a Brad Beard shake, 5 points. Veronica's injured, -10. Medical DQ, -25. Done in by the stairs, -10. Not even a game, just stairs.
Yeah.
But according to TJ, she's a certified BA, 20 points.
Big Apple.
Yeah. Kellyanne is freaking out, but is really excited, 5 points. It actually turns out that Kellyanne loves jumping out of helicopters, 5 points.
Do you think you guys could have done that daily?
No.
I
could've done it.
would have
Yeah.
willed
No,
myself to
no
do
way.
it, but
Yeah, same.
and just a normal like, hey, you want to go jump out of a helicopter? No. We get a Kellyanne and Mark flex off, 10 points to each.
both?
Yeah. Wes has no need for money, 10 points. It's a great place to be.
Financially stable, which is what Nehemiah wants to teach when he wins.
That's right. He wants to help other people be financially stable.
Johnny is still swimming, -15. Sad Nia, -5. But we get reassuring Brad, 5 points to Brad. Nia quits, -25. An additional -15 for production, having to relay she's given up. But 15 to Brad because he's Captain Beardo. I say negative Beardo. Got all them negative points from Nia on the brain. According to Wes, Nia's self-sabotaging, -15.
God, she's going to be real bad.
I don't even want to look.
Nehemiah intentionally missing the authority. It may be, smart strategy, but it's also weird. -5.
Yeah, again, I think that's revisionist history. It's like, oh, there was a reason why.
But he does get to be Black James Bond again. 15 points.
Which, by the way, they should let Idris Elba be the new James Bond because he would be
Absolutely.
incredible at it.
Oh my gosh.
Um,
They should.
Let's see. There were only 2 guys that got the pattern right. 15 points to Mark and Derek. But Mark wins. That's 25 points for the win, 15 for being in the authority. He also gives TJ a hug, 5 points. Yeah. 2 women got it correct. We're going to give 15 to John A. We'll give 5 to Kellyanne. She didn't get it totally correct. She had it flipped the wrong way.
Yeah.
But anyway, -10 because she was 90 degrees off.
So she basically got -5.
Right. John A wins, 25 points, and then 15 for being in the authority. She also gets Veronica's star, 15 points to John A. John A and Mark dance as they walk back into the house, 5 points to each.
I gotta say, it looked like Mark was better at it. It looked like he had the rhythm down a little bit more.
Mm-hmm.
He's been practicing that.
Yeah, well, -10 to Nia. She's terrified and heavily unprepared. Wes played Mario Kart his whole life. That's a 20-pointer. You can't go wrong with Mario Kart. We're also going to give him 15 points for the quote, "I'm going to F you guys up."
Yeah, I did appreciate. I honestly, having the uncensored episodes is a lot more fun.
Yes, it is. We'll give a -10 to Derek and Nehemiah for the flashbacks to the weird rivalry. We'll give 15 to Derek because he's got actually he doesn't have more stars than anyone in the game.
No, him and Mark are
We'll
tied.
scratch that.
Yeah.
10 points to Wes because he's bringing in an intellectual mercenary, and it's a reunion with Bananas. 20 points. But Bananas shows him a full moon.
Yeah.
-5 to Wes.
I'd say it's like a crescent moon.
Crescent moon, -5. -5 to Kellyanne because she's supposedly pretending to do yoga.
That is funny that
Yeah,
they
that
said
was funny.
she hasn't done yoga since Kendall left because they have this whole like yoga page together.
Yeah.
How many was it? Negative?
-5. 10 points to John A for the quote and realization that this is the weirdest thing. Everyone wants to go into elimination. Negative 25 to Kayla and Derek. They get voted in.
Oh, Kayla, sorry. First points of the night, Kayla.
We're going to give 15 points to Derek and Wes. They made pole wrestle famous. I am going to give 20 points to Naya for the quote, I would dog walk her.
I did appreciate that, yeah.
Some fire, and we're going to give her 20 points for it. Negative 25 to Kellyanne and Nehemiah. They are voted in.
Where are they? Here we go. Negative 25. All right.
20 points to Wes for the quote, F him up. He's not going to have a family to go back to.
That was really funny.
And that was whispered. That wasn't like, oh, I want everyone to hear this because it's like intimidating for airtime. He was like, I want to just pump Nehemiah up.
You whisper it when you mean it.
Derek had been talking about how Nehemiah is the easier option. 10 points to Nehemiah for the quote, wrong thing to say, bro. Another 10 points for the quote, I'm about to show you what easy looks like. And another 10 points because he's going to the dark place.
John
we're going to give 10 points to Nehemiah because he outright slammed Derek, which is going to bring...
For the opening.
The opening, yes. Yeah. Which is going to give Derek a negative 10 for getting slammed. And that's it. We don't have any...
That's about where it ended.
That's
it.
Cliffhanger. So Zach's going to do some math here. We're going to take a quick break. Another shout out to our sponsor. Got that nose running.
Mucinex.
We'll be right back. And we're back. Once again, another shout out to our sponsor. Got that nose running. Mucinex. Okay.
I mean, it's just a runaway. As of last week, Hannah was at 425, Jake was at 600, and I was at 1435.
Right.
All right. This week, Jordyn obviously eliminated. Naya, negative 70.
Good Lord.
And that is not an elimination or daily. I guess she lost daily, but she didn't lose any points for it.
But it's just straight being.
Latarian, MJ gone. John A, 70. Kendall, Ronnie, Jimmy, all gone. So Hannah's two players had negative 70 and 70.
Zero.
Oh
Zero
my
for
gosh.
the week.
Are you freaking kidding me?
Wes, 105.
Mm-hmm.
Mark, 105.
Mm-hmm.
Brad, 25. Derek ended up with 0 for the week. Veronica was a negative 25. She got sent home. And Kellyanne was a negative 15. So I still ended up with 195 for the week. Because, again, my top two guys had 105 each.
Right.
Kayla scored one time, and it was negative 25.
She got voted in.
For being voted in. And Nehemiah had a real big run of negatives at the beginning, but it all equaled out to 0. And then those last 10 points got you 40 points.
Hey.
So you had negative 25 and 40 for a grand total of 15.
All right.
So you were 15 ahead of Hannah this week. So that puts you at, let's do Hannah's score first, which is exactly the same, which is 4.
This is so
425.
stupid.
So this is 8 weeks now, right?
8 weeks. She's averaging 50 points a week.
53 points. Averaging 53 points a week.
I got 100. I got 210 from my top 2 players. Jake, you are at 615. Not much better, honestly.
I'm averaging 77 points a week.
Okay, I am at 1630. I'm 1,000 points, 1,015 points ahead of my next closest competition. How many is that per week?
204.
Much better.
Yeah.
This is the biggest landslide victory we've ever had. Honestly, Naya and John A may both be in the final. It's going to be a battle for second because you guys are only 180, 190 points apart. I got 210 from Mark and West this one.
Yeah, well,
episode.
I have no hope for the future of my fantasy team.
I mean, Naya, maybe she's just been holding it all in for the. You don't believe in John A?
I believe in John A. I don't believe in Naya at this point, and I'm afraid that whatever great progress and great milestones Jonna hits.
It's gonna be negated by Nia.
I think Nia's gonna negate it and pull the rest of the team down.
I think which
would be pulling Jonna down.
Unless Nia has one of the biggest turnarounds of a season I've ever seen, I do think if we added up all our fantasy points, she's gonna be in the negative.
I agree. I think if she ends up winning, it will be the most unimpressive win in challenge history.
Well, unless she does great in the final, it'll be the worst regular season. And then, like, she may just kill the final. But it will be one of the most unimpressive, like,
runs to the final.
Yeah, runs to the final. Because I gotta say, I mean, if you win a final, like, it is winning a final. It would be what a wild season that would be if she just was the worst person every week, basically, and then wins the final. You know, who knows? We got weirder things have happened in the world. Again, not looking great, but you know, you guys are not that far apart from each other. I don't think it's possible for me to not be in first place.
I agree.
So
unless everybody on your team quits the final, and you get like 1,000 negative points,
I still don't. I think if every one of them quit, I still would win. I think if we didn't score the next 2 episodes for my team, I still would win. We'll be back with you next week. Actually, probably in just a few days, honestly, because we just recorded on this Monday, so I'll probably do it before next Monday for sure. So I didn't do any of the plugs at the top of the show. You know where it's at. Patreon.com/SmashingHeads at Smashing Heads on Instagram. I mean Facebook. On Twitter at Smashing Heads Podcast on Facebook and Instagram. And again, what are you looking at me like that for?
you messed up the...
I did. I got it wrong, but I caught myself. So, like Jake said at the top of the show, 5-star reviews really do help. I don't think he said that specifically, but we do like to see those when they come through.
We do.
And then 1,000 fantasy points.
Well, 100, but we'll take it.
Yeah. I think I could give you 100 fantasy points each, and it wouldn't matter.
I love the fantasy points coming from listeners. Would rather have $100.
That's
okay.
Fine,
yeah.
I would rather have $1,600. Yeah.
Well, I mean, if we have listeners that are sending us fantasy points, instead you can send us money.
Sure. If you want to send us money, let us know and we'll figure something out. But until then, we'll be back with you next time.
Have a good night, everyone.